TikTok, time to rock. We've got a little bit of a story to tell anybody who is going to be in here very shortly. We'll wait for the story, but if anyone's watching the replay, you'll be surprised to know that even seasoned veterans who've been doing a couple of these shows for a couple of years still makes a few timing mistakes. So full of apologies, Michael, full of apologies. It's way past midnight where Michael is, and that was always the time when Michael was going to come on live. But for some strange reason, Michael, in my mind, I thought I was still going on at 6 our normal time, which would have been way past your bedtime. Full of apologies, brother.
No problem. I just had breakfast just to keep myself up.
Oh my gosh. So while you and I are talking, I'm going to message our other co-hosts. Simon will still be in bed and Brad will be working. So it's probably just a good idea for you and I to get going and start the show. The meat and potatoes of the show probably is next week when we go through and do the rankings. But the good thing about having Michael on board for this show is that we like to prepare, we like to discuss, we like to dive deep and talk about all those little interesting things that music fans and guitar nuts like to know. And as you guys are already aware of, if you've watched the interview we did with Michael a couple of weeks ago, Michael's done a lot of that preparation in publication and article. And I will throw up Michael's social media links and you can go and read that article. But we probably will be lucky enough to have Michael talk about some of those insights in his research over the next couple of shows. So always a pleasure to have you, Michael. We got some good feedback on that show that you and I did together.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. Thanks for having me, Andrew.
No problem. We got a couple of guys in the chat. We've got Derek, very, very good friend of the channel, who provides some outstanding insights and some outstanding observations over Derek's experience with listening to the type of music we like talking about. We've got another good friend of the channel, Michael D-Tube from Australia. We have another brother of the channel, Kurt5150 from Seattle, from the United States of America, joining us. Mark Tanner. Where are you from, Mark? Mark's been in the chat for the last couple of shows. I'm sorry, Mark, I don't know where you're from. I think Mark might be from North America too, Michael. So we've got a few people here anyway, keeping you and I company. So it's not all that bad.
No, not bad at all.
How are things going?
Things are good. Things are definitely good over here.
Fantastic.
How about you?
Mate, very good. You know, it's always I love doing these hangouts. You know, I look forward to catching up with guys like yourself and my other co-hosts. We had a great show last night. We were interviewing a guy called Halen, a guy called Caleb Rappaport, who has a Van Halen tribute band, who's a sponsored artist by EVH, Michael, and he was just sharing us some experiences when he met Eddie Van Halen over the years, and it's it was jaw-dropping, and it was fascinating and heartfelt. It's just fantastic.
Wow, yeah. I actually had a friend named Ben Stein, who's an amazing guitarist, who played one of Eddie's guitars recently.
Wow.
He was at a collector's house or something like that, and he had one of Eddie's guitars, and he played it, and he said it was amazing.
Well, look, you know, we're friends of Eddie Van Halen here on this channel, even though, you know, we've got a show that talks about electric British blues and, Clapton nuts. But, Michael, there is a relationship, because who was Eddie Van Halen's guitar hero?
Eric Clapton.
For good reason.
Yeah. There's a version that he does of Crossroads on YouTube that's pretty good. And he said that he used to study that solo note for note. So
Big time. And I remember hearing that probably the first time, Michael, in the late 1990s. And I remember being blown away by it, thinking, this is fantastic. Yeah. And I think the lady, it's a woman that's interviewing him, and he's just talking about Clapton. I have to disagree with Eddie, though, because he rates Clapton up until Derek and the Dominoes, I think, and then kind of disregards anything after that. But he certainly looks at fondness with those Cream years, which are pretty good in itself.
mm-hmm.
But as you and I appreciate, this is pretty good too.
Yeah, I wonder what he thought of that.
Yeah, I don't know if I asked you this question when we got together and had our first show, but I remember I've asked a few other people this. It's interesting how Eddie never went to any of the Crossroads festivals.
He would have probably put everyone to shame. Everyone would have probably given up. I mean, I got to go to 2 of those shows. I was very lucky to go to 2 of them, and it's basically a masterclass in guitar. You have everyone in every style of guitar playing there, and they're all masters of their respective genres. So, I mean, Eddie would probably just wipe the floor.
I'm not going to argue with you.
He changed the game, just like Clapton did.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you at all, Michael. I think, there's a lot of footage there when, for example, I think it's the first gig Sammy Hagar and Eddie Van Halen did. I think it's at a Farm Aid benefit, and they're playing Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll, and it's like a festival kind of environment where you just got this back wall behind you, and you plug in and you just go for it, and jeepers, it's jaw-dropping. So, yeah, I'm not going to argue with you. Tell us a little bit about these Crossroads festivals that you've gone to. Which ones have you gone to? You may have mentioned that in the first show, but I'm always keen to hear someone talk about those Crossroads gigs.
Sure. The first one I went to was the 2010 one, and yeah, that was unbelievable. That was the show where he played I Shot the Sheriff, which is his most viewed version of that song on YouTube. That's from Chicago, Crossroads 2010. And he's playing the Daphne Blue Strat. And his performance is outstanding. And I was filming it on just like a handheld camera, not even a phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was blown away. The solo progresses and builds, and he's an incredible storyteller. And the band is always right with him, right there with him.
Yeah. Solid band. I'm just looking for my DVDs. I've got all those DVDs of the Crossroads gig. I'm going to tell you a secret, though. I'm going to tell you a secret, Michael. I watched the latest one. I rented it on Apple TV, and I watched it, and I wasn't particularly
impressed.
No, I just I give it 50 out of 100, Michael. It's not my favorite one. Have you seen it?
I've seen a clip of While My Guitar Gently Weeps with Peter Frampton, and I've seen him do Layla with John Mayer, and a couple of other performances. But I agree with you. It doesn't have the same energy, or maybe the same fire that the 2010 or 2013 Crossroads festivals had, and the previous ones were also pretty. I mean, he was much younger then, so
Yeah. Look, I think you've hit the nail on the head. It doesn't have the spark that those other gigs had, and not necessarily with Clapton himself, but some of the performers. And I don't want to talk, because we're a positive channel, but some of the performances on the latest one were just going through. Yeah, there was no spark, Michael. There was nothing there to grip me to go, holy cow, like. The previous gigs, there was plenty of fire, plenty of spark, plenty of dynamic happening, and I just didn't enjoy it. But on the other hand, a couple of weeks ago, Michael, I went to the movies to watch the Fleetwood Mac tribute for Peter Green that they did in February last year. And Michael, if you have not seen that,
I haven't.
I think it's live streaming. You can pay for a stream. I think it's available this month. Please see it, Michael, from a guitarist's point of view. You'll know all the songs because we all do. But gee, that guy Johnny, man, there's some surprises. I won't talk about it until you've seen it, but there are some bloody good surprises.
I know that David Gilmour plays on one or two songs, and that's enough to get me to watch. I know that he loved the song Albatross, and it may have influenced the Pink Floyd song Echoes. They mention Albatross, Overhead the Albatross.
Yeah. They, Noel Gallagher, even Kurt Hammett, with oh my gosh, the performance is fantastic. Tim Finn does a very good, a current member of Fleetwood. Yeah, just fantastic. There's plenty of energy. I was blown away by it. And if that ever becomes available for a purchase or a DVD, I'll definitely be getting it. Anyway, it's I follow your posts regularly. I think your sense of humour is very sophisticated. If you guys haven't checked out Michael, there he is there. Check him out. There's his Instagram account. I happen to have, follow him there, and you'll follow his other social media platforms. There's one in particular. There's one where Eric Clapton is sitting down in a chair and he's checking his iPad to see if Michael's been posting about him. Oh my gosh. Yes, and a couple of other little surprises there as well.
I have a couple of different memes from that, and those are really funny for me to do because people know that I like Clapton and I like him a lot, and I post about him pretty often, and that's, I guess, okay. But if I don't post about him in a day or 2 days, then people either think I'm dead or something. So I'll post that picture of Eric Clapton kind of scrolling through his iPad, maybe like reading his Facebook or reading his Instagram. And it says, Michael also hasn't posted about me yet. So
yeah. That's it. That's the one. Sorry, I kind of twisted what Michael actually did, but you guys get the idea. So it's pretty funny. And also Steve Gadd's birthday last week. So you alerted me to that. So I appreciate that. Isn't social media great when you've because we don't know all these things, and it's sort of like, oh, okay. Steve Gadd, 75. Holy moly.
Yeah. And he's still doing it, and he's still nailing it every time. He's unbelievable.
Oh.
He's played with Clapton for so many years. Probably, 25 years? 27 years? I think since 95.
Easily. The DVD Planes...
27 years.
Planes, Trains and Automobiles, or
and Eric,
Planes,
Trains,
that's very
Eric. Yeah.
Planes. That's it. if you guys haven't seen that, check that out. You've got to check that out because the interviews are very revealing too. Steve Gadd, is talking about his relationship with Eric and how he plays with him, and also, he's very honest and upfront, and he's saying, I've got to play. He says, I have to play. I'm a working musician. I got a gig. I've got bills to pay. And I really appreciated that because sometimes we get this idea, don't we, Michael, that a lot of the musicians and the bands that we follow, we think, oh my gosh, they're like Eric Clapton. They've got $300 million and they've got 10 Ferraris, Michael, and a signature drum set. But, I'm sure Steve isn't,
right.
Isn't,
Right.
yeah.
Scraping
But,
the barrel. No. He's
Yeah,
not doing
scraping the yeah. That's the But he's a performing musician. He's got to get out there and he's got to perform. So
he's a recording and performing artist.
Yeah.
And not many people can do both as well as he does.
Oh, look, I agree. And there's something about these guys. Let's I don't know what the new or the next generation is, and maybe that might be a show, Michael, because you're a little bit younger than myself and the other co-hosts, so maybe you've got a ear closer to the ground. You might be able to jump on, and we can do a future show and talk about up and coming, musicians, that we might need to keep an eye on. Including yourself, of course.
Well, thank you.
Yes. So, look. I think what we'll do is we'll just get into talking a little bit about the 24 Nights DVD, that era. It's fast.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Before we start, I wanted to quickly mention the other Crossroads festival that I went to. The 2010. The 2010 one was amazing in Chicago.
Sure.
And they had done another Crossroads in Chicago as well at Toyota Park, which is a huge stadium.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that day it was like 95 degrees, no wind at all. My dad and I both bought 5 bottles of water, and it ended up being like $60. So
really?
$6 a bottle of water. Crazy. It was absolutely crazy. And the concert was all day from maybe 10 a.m. to 11:30 at night with everyone on stage at the last performance. It was just crazy, like 20 guitar players. But there were some highlights, including Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks. They were unbelievable. I think they did Midnight in Harlem or something like that. And then they had like a Space Cowboy. I could be making that up. A couple of their songs were really, really fantastic. And I remember crying from it. It was just very emotional and very, very powerful. And I think Eric was great that day. He was very in the zone, as we said before. And obviously his Crossroads performance of the song and I Shot the Sheriff made it to DVD. And those performances are great. Steve Winwood was at the show, so they did a couple of their, Blind Faith tunes, which was great. So how could you go wrong? How could you go wrong with that?
Yeah. Look, I appreciate you sharing that experience with us. I just want to remind our viewers that we are screening Michael on obviously YouTube, but we're also screening on the All About the Blues Facebook page, and we are also streaming on All Things Eric Clapton Facebook group as well. So, and Mark has shared our link, and so hopefully we'll get some other people jumping in, having a chat with us too. So we'll make sure next week that we've got the time frame up and running. I'm full of apologies,
no worries,
my friend. I'm full of apologies. So we'll make sure that we're up and running. I'm not
That's my-
sure how that's. I'm not sure how that's going to go with Simon and Brad, but at least you and I will be here, so we're not too far out of sync. But the 24 nights journeyman era for me, for personally, and we're probably going to rehash some of the stuff that we spoke about on the earlier show that we did, is one of the highlights in Clapton's career for me, and I certainly know it's for you. So, do you just want to remind everybody one of the reasons why you have a particular fondness for those albums, this DVD or that record for us, Michael?
Sure. I wrote this down because I need to know it for myself.
Sure.
And the reason why 24 Nights is so good to me is a couple of things. The performances themselves, the arrangements that his band has or he has, the diverse selection of music. So there's pop music, rock music, blues, orchestral music, all on one DVD. Where else can you find that from one solo artist? You would find that on a compilation DVD, not from one artist. And then finally, the sound, the mix of the album that was done by Alex Haas and producer Russ Titleman is outstanding and so good that I needed to reach out to them and learn more about it. So all of these things work together to just make my favorite live album. The songs are great, and like I said, the performances, I'm still learning from them. They teach, and they've taught me how to be a musician and be a musician in a band. You first study what Eric is doing. If you're a guitar player, you're looking at what Eric's doing, but eventually you're paying attention to what the drums are doing, what the bass is doing, what the piano is doing, what the backing singers are doing, what the percussion is doing, and how it all works together and how they all complement each other. So that record, to me, is the pinnacle of his career.
No argument for me. It's certainly a highlight, and it captivated me, Michael, as a fan for a long time. I like you, literally spent hours, studying the VHS, and listening to it because I was just fascinated by not necessarily what Eric was playing. We can talk about that a little bit later and obviously on the next show. But I will say one thing though, in relationship to Eric's playing before I make my next point. Over the last couple of weeks in preparation for this show, I was watching a lot of the videos, and they're all over the internet, guys. They're all over YouTube, so it's fantastic. Even the songs that didn't make it. But one thing that really struck me about this gig was the 3 different vibrato techniques that Clapton uses. And there are 3 different versions. And so what I'm going to do next week, and I know Michael is a player too, so I'm going to have a guitar played in, and I'm going to do what I think is an example of the 3 different types. When we think about Clapton, we think necessarily about the one type where he's just using his that finger there, but he's actually using 2 other different techniques right through that whole recording. So even from a guitar playing technical perspective, it's fantastic. But I just loved the way that he looked, the Armani suits, Michael, the Armani guitar straps. I loved the pewter grey with the lace sensor, Clapton signature Stratocasters he was using. But also from a filming point of view, Michael, that was probably one of the first decent videos we got where we could actually see what a guitarist was doing. You know, we could actually see the scales. We could see the notes, Michael. So top marks to the production team and making sure that we got that, because we weren't getting a lot of that around that time. And we got to remember that, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what was available at that time because I was born that year. I was born in 1991. I was born when the album came out.
Yeah, I do remember that. Look, I'm going to do a quick shout out. We've got Brian Sporting, a very good friend of the channel, who's going to be on with us hopefully soon. And Mark Turner is from Australia, so I wasn't sure. I couldn't remember, Mark, so please, forgive me, Mark. I'll never get that wrong again. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. Let us know what you think about the Journeyman 24 Nights era. I loved it, and then I loved the tone too, Michael. Hearing that high gain with those Soldano amps, and No Alibis live, hearing that intro live, and then Michael, have you seen I'm sure you have. In Argentina at where he's doing the No Alibis song. I think that's the third or fourth song in that gig, and it's just phenomenal. Wow.
He was on fire at that gig. A lot of people say that's one of the best gigs of that tour.
Oh my gosh. I watched that gig probably 5, 6, 7 times a year. I just his backup singers are just the way that they fill the volume and the harmony. It's just fantastic. Wow. And also Clapton's playing a lot of lead. We got to remember that too. There were a lot of tours where Clapton was just, for example, playing just rhythm on, say, for example, Pretending. And he would leave, a lot of the lead up until a couple of years ago. I think Andy Fairweather Low was playing lead on Pretending. So, Clapton's doing a lot of that lead work himself. Phenomenal DVD. Well, it's not a DVD, is it? It's I don't have that on DVD. Do you have a hard copy of that?
I do. There's a Clapton fan named Michael Saywin, from England, who sent me 30 DVDs from 1990, 1991, and some scattered ones from recent years, like the 2019 shows at the Albert Hall. I'm forever thankful to him. He knows that I'm a huge 24 Nights fan, and he sent them to me. I think I reached out to him, or he reached out to me, and he said, "What's your address?" And I was like, "What?" He said, "I have all these DVDs. Do you want them?" And I said, "Yes, please." And they arrived one day, a month later, and it was like Christmas. It was actually December 1st when I received it. And I posted about it. I was so excited. And I've been listening to them and kind of rating them against each other. And something that you notice is Clapton doesn't play anything the same way twice. And like David Gilmour might play a lot of his solo similar way, or like 90% the same way, and then add a couple of improv to it. Eric might have a starting point, but then he goes wherever. And I'm not saying one is better than the other by any means. It's just that Eric will change it up every single night. And that means you could have something great, or you can have something all right. And that goes kind of back to your point on why the Crossroads 2019 DVD might not be your favorite. He could just be having an off night for him. And that's still better than we could do. So
yeah, I think Clapton's probably doing about a 60-65% on that gig. But a lot of the support acts are pretty below par. That's my general feeling with the recent Crossroads gig. But look, I agree with you. I think one of the great songs that I love live, it's Little Wing, and there are some fantastic versions of Little Wing live, and Clapton can play that in different positions depending on what key obviously the band is in, and who's in his band. But I just think that's phenomenal. We've got to do a shout out to the Winwood Clapton DVD too, guys. If you haven't seen that, that is a compulsory must see too. The sound, the way that the band sits in the background, and that they allow these two guys to perform, these two giants. The photography is just mind blowing. Oh,
I was there on the first night. I was there at the first night. I was there the first night. I had a report due the following day. And I remember I was trying to figure out the Fibonacci sequence. I swear to God. I was trying to figure out the Fibonacci sequence for a math research report. And I was doing fractions sitting in my seat.
Oh my gosh.
And
Michael.
And I remember it was a long concert. It was a very long concert. It was about over 2 hours. And now, if you've seen him in the past couple of years, he does an hour 15, an hour 30, which just flies. But he was doing 2.5 hours with Winwood because they have so much material together. And each of them played some solo songs. So it just made the show a little bit longer. But it was it was very, very good. I think a lot of the stuff that made it to DVD were from the second and third night, but I'm not positive. My friend was there the third night when they did Gadd, the Traffic song, and Clapton just has an incredible solo on that.
Yeah, one of the favourites too. Stormy Monday. I just think that and Voodoo.
Voodoo Child.
Gosh, you guys, if you guys haven't seen that DVD, you can buy it on iTunes as a download. Just you've got to have it. It's up there with this for pretty much the same reasons. It's just a great example of how a band reacts when you've got giants and the backing band just sit in the pocket. I just take my hat off to Willie Weeks is playing the bass, I think, on that gig, and
who's the drummer? Who's the drummer?
He's a big fellow. Oh,
he plays on that the Strat Pack gig with Gilmore.
Yeah. Cheapers.
Ian.
Oh, hold on. Let's just give me 2 seconds.
Fantastic. And he's also on Crossroads 2007, playing with Winwood and Clapton.
So hold on, Clapton, Winwood. Hold on, guys, because we're all about getting the information out there. So we're all about getting reference personnel. So the drummer is Ian Thomas.
Ian, I had Ian right.
You got nice. Ian right. Chris Stanton on keyboard, Steve Winwood, Willie Weeks on bass, and Mr. Clapton on guitar.
Double Trouble.
Phenomenal.
Double Trouble.
Phenomenal.
From that show. Unbelievable. Yeah. Those solos and the organ, the mix, everything about it. The drum sound is outstanding. When I went to a recording studio last year, I asked the engineer to listen to the drums on Double Trouble from Live at Madison Square Garden. Obviously, the drums that I played on aren't that drum set in that room, mic'd the same way, but I asked him to listen to that and try and mix my drums to sound like those drums, because I think that is an ideal kick drum sound. And the snare is pretty good, but the kick drum sounds so fantastic if you re-listen to that record.
Yeah, and have a look at the video, because Ian's only playing a basic kit too. He's not hiding behind a mountain of drums. He's just got a Charlie Watts it's just a basic rock and roll drum kit, and it's phenomenal. Look, isn't it great talking about these performances, these gigs, these recordings with someone else and guys in the chat. This is one of the great things about social media. If you guys think that anything that we're saying tonight is interesting and informative or entertaining, please share our links. I'll make sure too that Michael's social media links will be attached to this video, so that we can get that crossover, because Michael provides an opportunity for Clapton nuts to see something else that's a little bit different on his social media platforms. Michael plays a lot. He invites people to comment on what he offers there as well. So you get some deep diving and some insight. So it's a privilege to have Michael share a bit of that knowledge with us on our show. So again, Michael, I will always be forever grateful for you jumping on. And we're planning other shows. Michael's got some very, very good friends who are close to the action. Yeah. So we're planning something. We've got some more shows going. We've got some deep diving albums that we can do with people who are close to it as well. So hang on, subscribe to our channel, subscribe to Michael, and then you'll keep up to play with the plans that we've got going. I'm excited. But like a lot of things, you have to put a bit of planning into it, and you got to make sure that, for example, your time zones are correct. We don't make this mistake again.
It's fine. We're all good.
Okay, all right. Again, it's my apologies. I know that my co-hosts are going to kick me because I told them it was the normal time too, so they will kick me. But it's okay. You and I will do well. We'll give them an option next week to jump on, even if they come on part way through this show. So you've spoken about how this album and this era in particular gives you a good example of how to perform as a musician, how to interact in a band. It's a PhD offering for blues and rock and roll and guitar players. Do you want to talk about some other insights on that album or the DVD or that era, Michael? You can go as deep as you want.
Besides talking about the actual songs themselves, I'm just trying to think of what we can mention other than that. I can say that he was, at that time, Eric was in complete control of his abilities as a guitar player and as a singer. And you can see that in his performances. But another thing that's important to note is that they were performing night after night or, 2 days apart. And they just kept on doing it for 24 straight nights. And the album actually gets its name from, so there were actually 42 shows that they performed at London's Royal Albert Hall. And there were 18 that were done in 1990. And then there were 24 nights that happened in 1991. However, the DVD and CD actually pulls from only 4 nights. And those nights are January 24th, 1990, February 5th, 1990, which was the blues night. Then there was the night in 1991. Oh, I'm sorry. There's either February 9th or February 10th is when they did the orchestra nights with Michael Kamen as the conductor. And it's special that he was brought onto the project because they wrote the song Edge of Darkness together for, I think, a BBC show.
That's correct.
Which I never got to see, but I imagine it's pretty good. And the music is great. So Michael Kamen, if people don't know, he was a conductor, composer, and he actually wrote the score for Comfortably Numb from Pink Floyd. And I think he orchestrated a lot of other tracks on Pink Floyd's The Wall. So I don't think too many people know that about him. So we mentioned January 24th is the rock pop night 4-piece band. We have February 5th, which was the blues band that had Johnny Johnson, who was the piano player for Chuck Berry, Robert Cousins on bass, who I'm not sure who he's from. There was Jamie Oldacre, who was Eric Clapton's longtime drummer from the 70s. I think he was on Slow Hand and a bunch of other records. And he's also in that performance from 1985 in Hartford that is on YouTube. Jamie Oldacre actually passed away recently, which is so sad.
That's correct.
And he got to play the last Crossroads festival, so I'm glad he was able to do that. And then some special guests were at the blues performances. Buddy Guy, guitarist, vocalist, songwriter, and Robert Cray, also blues guitarist, singer, songwriter. And he actually wrote Old Love with Eric Clapton, which Eric would play on this tour.
One of the standouts on this album too, by the way. And they play the guitar parts equally together, so yeah, it's a standout.
Yeah, I think on the 24 Nights version, there's a lot more space. There's a lot more space. There's less competition, I guess. Not as many people playing guitar. And there's a lot more dynamic. And dynamic is something that 24 Nights has that studio performances don't have as much. And I've always thought that Eric was a better live player than in studio. There's something about putting him in front of an audience and with a band that's energized and at the top of their game that just sets those performances far apart from his studio counterparts. And I like to think that a lot of the recordings from 24 Nights are the definitive versions of these songs. And when we actually go into the songs, either this episode or next episode, I'll mention which I think is definitive or not.
Sure. And I think that's part and parcel of what we do when we deep dive and we do the rankings. We have absolutely no problem, Michael, to say, that, this live version is better than the recorded version. But, look, I'm going to agree with you. There's no argument from me. I think we have to remember that a lot of the artists that we follow, the LP is a launch pad for what they can do. And that's one of the reasons, Michael, for example, I chose Live Cream last week for us to discuss. It's not a standout clear cream killer album that fans talk about, but I chose that album specifically for one thing only, that it provided a couple of numbers there where Cream gave you an insight into how they were jamming, how they were performing individually but together as a band. And I think that album, there's a few songs on that album which I think captures that essence. But yeah, we don't want to. Yeah, we don't want to go over that show.
That was a great show. I watched it, I think, the following day because you recorded it at, I think, 2 a.m. your time, my time.
Thank you. And look, we need to get you on more when we do some of these Clapton shows, even if it's just you and I. If the time zone doesn't suit our other co-hosts, I'm sure they won't mind, you and I doing this. I can't wait. I can't wait for us to do the clip. Hold on. I've got all these names and things going on in my head. Hold on. I can't wait for us, Michael, to do this album.
Wow. I've got some memories tied to that one.
Yeah.
And the sessions for Robert Johnson came out at a similar time as that?
Yes.
So those two, for me, I listened to in tandem. And I remember I had a 6 CD changer in my room at that time. And I remember listening to a couple of the acoustic songs before bed. I would just listen to them on repeat. It's just a great recording and great performances. And a lot of them are just first takes. And it just shows how great he is.
Awesome. Just hold the line.
Sure.
Just hold that thought. Simon, sorry. I'm sorry.
Good morning. Apologies, Michael. It's really sorry. I'd assume in my ignorance that we're starting at the normal time.
I did too. So I've already apologised for you, and I've
apologising for myself because of being an idiot for not just. It's in the middle of the night for him, you idiot.
I was going to make myself.
Michael.
No problem. I was going to make myself a coffee and then just stay up for the rest of the night.
I didn't know Simon too. I'm sitting here doing something else, and I got a call from Michael, and then he said I'm here, and I'm going, oh my gosh, that's right.
Yes, yeah, and I woke up. We've got a bit of boiler problem, and so we've got a bowl under it with an alarm in it. So the water fills up, and then the alarm goes off, and that's what happened. It fell up, and the alarm went off. So I come down I thought, oh God, Michael's. It's by the middle of the night for Michael. Poor Michael. He started. And I looked. It's like, God, it started half an hour ago. Sorry.
Well, we'll have to be. Here he is.
Oh,
Hi, brother. How are you?
Are you on the same train as me, Brad?
Is this the late shift or the early shift? I don't know. I have no idea.
This is the shift of shame. That's what it is.
Let's start over.
I got a message. I got a phone call from Michael, Brad, and he's basically saying, "Where are you?" I'm in, and so I jumped on, full of apologies, and I said to him, "Look, when these other two rat bags wake up, they might see what's going on and go, oh, okay, but we won't make this." We won't make this mistake next week. Sorry, Michael.
No problem.
I'll get up earlier, Michael. Blimey.
No problem.
It's
all good. I spoke to Michael earlier, but I was actually out. I believe it or not, I had to shoot into work for about an hour or two to get some things done. So
I believe it.
Yeah,
I believe it. They're taking advantage of you. I believe it.
Yeah.
I wrote my
excuse.
I wrote my friend saying that I should move to New Zealand so that I'll be on your guys' time or closer to your time, so that we don't have to.
Yeah.
This ridiculous.
Let's form a band.
It's been done.
4 guitars.
Hey, we haven't done much.
Doesn't need us. He can play everything.
Yeah.
No, I need you guys.
Yeah. We haven't done much, guys. We've just been just shooting the breeze. Yeah, I was going to say something else. Shooting the breeze, talking about different Crossroads gigs that Clapton has done, and Michael's given us a bit of an insight into why he thinks 24 Nights is an important album. He won't want to repeat that, but for the sake of the show and for other guys in the chat, Simon and Brad, if you'd like to share with us some of your personal insights around the DVD and that era, and why you like it or why you don't like it. I'm assuming you guys like it.
You never assume, Andrew. You never assume.
I know. Assume me. I know. I did that sales course, bro. Simon, give us a bit of a.
It is the worst album I've ever. No. Do you know what? There's nothing more ineffectual than earbuds being thrown down his ear. It's pathetic, isn't it? See, proper headphones is fine. See, this was just. That's not really a gesture of defiance, is it? It's
very, very English.
It's pathetic. Right.
Oh. And our sympathies and condolences, because we are members of the British Commonwealth. The passing of Prince Philip.
Prostrating yourself, yes.
Rest in peace, your old man.
The
Man.
Yeah,
the old buzzard.
Yeah, the old buzzard. I must say, that's fine. He was 99. What do you expect to happen at 99?
What a life!
I don't want to be. Yeah, he's had a long, interesting life. Much. And much to celebrate. Absolutely, but I don't.
He missed out on a letter from the Queen.
And he missed out on it by 3 months. Yeah.
Very clever.
No.
Michael, if you're when you're a member of the British Commonwealth, when you turn 100, you get a letter from Queen Elizabeth thanking you for being a loyal, faithful servant to the realm.
Being alive.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Just it used to be.
Hey,
it used to be a telegram.
If you guys had stayed in the Commonwealth instead of having your revolution, you would have known that.
all that tea in the harbour.
What you drinking, Simon?
I'm drinking green tea. But look at that mug. See, this is what happens when you're a father.
Daddy rocks.
Like, you get things like a big mug that says "Daddy rocks" with the guitars on it, because it has guitars on it, and T-shirts and other stuff and things. So don't do that. It's so yes, we're a nation in mourning. Well, I'm in mourning because it's early, but it's yes. Whilst it's sad and all that, I'm not one of those people who feels like I have to go and prostrate myself in the street. Like turn up at somewhere and lay flowers and things. I'm old school British. I don't feel that's what happens. It's the natural order of things. That he would have approved of that, but.
No. Brian, I just said did a shout out and said that we're working on getting you on. Brian and I have touched base, guys, so we're just working on getting a time for Brian to jump on. But Simon, tell us.
Bombshell Spalding.
Yeah. Well, tell us a little bit about your experiences with this album, and then we'll get Brad to tell us too, if that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Well, I mean, my experience with it is quite limited to the last week or two. I've been watching it and stuff because I've not really come across it before. I don't know. It's things like with artists, you go through kind of, there are very few artists that I followed all the way through their, if you had a career as long as Clapton's,
Yep.
So I have Cream stuff and things like that, and clearly 461 Ocean Boulevard was the first album I got of Clapton's in the early 70s.
Frozen.
Oh. He froze because he doesn't know 24 Nights.
He'll come back on.
No, I'll come back on. There we are. You see.
Yeah,
cool. We have a bit of a. It's fine.
He just wanted to be on that side.
Hey, look at that! We swapped over. That's weird.
Right now, you can see my Clapton strap better.
Much. Warren's Clapton strap.
Warren's right.
Have we seen Warren in the chat? Is he here?
Is he in the chat?
Not yet.
Not yet. He's not in. That's right. Yeah. Well, morning to everyone in the chat. Brian and Nelson and Mark Tanner. Hi, Mark. Who else we got? I'll just say hi to the guys because it's cool to do so. But no, so I hadn't really. This is sort of, I was aware of it. I went to see him in '81, so I was aware. Was it? Is it Just One Night to the album from '81, the live one? So I liked it, actually. I thought it was all right. It's a
great album.
I like that as an album. I don't think it necessarily got massively good reviews, but I think I liked it. And he was good. I went to see him, and he was good. Really enjoyed it with the Hippodrome. And but then he kind of went off the radar. Really, I wasn't a huge fan of his '80s stuff. Really, I mean, I like the Bad Love. That's because it's got such a great riff in it and stuff, and it was a hit. So I remember that. But I didn't really come back until he had until Unplugged. So I sort of knew about 24 Nights. I knew he played all these nights at the Albert Hall over a period of a couple of years, and that he'd released. There was a DVD and stuff, but I haven't investigated them. No, I didn't have children by then, but when you have children, life is short on the investigation front. But so it was great to come to this, just to kind of, a bit cold really, and just sort of judge it, have a look at it as it is really. Look at the suit, admiring the suits, and clearly in his smart Armani suit period, which is fine. But so I've come to this comparatively new, really, without really hearing it before.
Oh, that's good, because when we do the rankings of the tracks next week, it'll be interesting to get your kind of your feedback, because you'll know a lot of the versions of the songs, obviously from other. From the recordings, but I think that's interesting. I know that Brad has a soft spot for this album and this era too. So, do you want to give us a bit of your backstory there, Brad?
Yeah, sure. Well, for me, this actually was excuse me. I got into this from watching MTV, to be honest with you, and I was always a Cream fan. And a Clapton fan, of course, but not heavily, not until this came out. My age bracket where I was, this was relevant. This came out, I don't know, was it? I think it was. I bought this in 2004, 2005, from memory. Anyway, around that period there. I had the whole concert series on VHS, and the thing that blew me away was how intense the band were and how intense Clapton played, and it had me hooked in, and I preferred hearing the versions of 24 Nights, like that concert series of the songs, than what I'd heard previously live and recorded. Now, interestingly, MTV aired about, I think it was 10 to 15 more tracks than what was on here. And I've got them on VHS somewhere. So if anyone knows how to transfer from VHS to DVD or digitally, I'll put them on YouTube. But there's different versions of Pretending and Running on Faith and White Room. There's different versions of some of the orchestra stuff. Edges of Darkness, there was a different version of that. I remember that. Old Love as well. And there was obviously a few songs that weren't actually included on this set. So
Layla, notably Layla, the version of Layla. For some reason,
I don't know. MTV didn't call it 24 Nights. They called it something else. I'll have to dig it out by
the Four Faces of Eric Clapton.
That's it.
Yes,
That's
correct.
It. And thanks, Michael, because I couldn't think of the name of it. But I've got them all on VHS because I sat there recording them, as you do, press pause, record. Pause,
I remember those days.
Yeah, and I might have missed like the first few seconds of a first note or something because I wasn't quick enough, but I managed to get that. And for me, this era of Clapton was what made me go way backwards.
Yeah.
Way backwards into his earlier stuff. Obviously, I had 461 Ocean Boulevard. I had the Cream of Eric Clapton, and I had Disraeli Gears. That's all I owned as a back then because I was just getting into playing guitar and things. And Clapton was always on my radar, but this changed me completely when this came out. So obviously from there I became a Clapton nut. I needed a pewter grey Strat. I needed I even grew my hair the same at one point, straightened it, all that shit to try and look like him at times.
Did you wear the suits? Did you wear the suits, Brad?
Did you have an Armani suit, Brad?
Did you wear the suits?
Not a suit. I had a fake Armani suit.
A fake?
Good on you.
Could you buy a fake Armani suit with the 90 anyway?
I think what we've got to remember too is, Clapton had just begun serious recovery too around that period. So he was sober, and Michael will probably correct me, and I think he'd given up smoking too around that era.
I think I've got footage of him.
No,
with
he's
a
still got.
cigarette.
What, there's definitely cigarettes in the headstock at one point. I remember.
Yeah.
He's smoking during Bad Love, Old Love, Sunshine.
Not 91. He's stopped smoking. Yeah, not yeah. Okay.
He's probably stopped after 92.
92. Okay. Yeah. Definitely not drink. You're absolutely right, because he has got a cigarette in Old Love, of course. But yeah, definitely sober, and I think that shows. I think that's probably one of the reasons why, when you look back on this album or this era, because there are some bad concerts and performances on the internet, clearly, and I think this breaks the mold, and this sort of sets him on a path where he is, what's the word? A consummate showman, a band leader.
Yeah. Do you think? Yeah. Sorry, Michael, go on.
Oh, thank you. At this time, he was very focused, very confident, and I would say masterful. And you were saying that he was sober for a couple of years. I think he went to treatment in 1987-ish. I'm not positive on the year, but if that's true, then he was soberish for 4 years. So that's great. And you could kind of see it in his complexion. You could see it in his face. He doesn't really have, as full of a face as he did in, say, 1986, the Birmingham concerts in England, which is one of my favorite DVDs.
Yeah.
I consider that his signature look. I love that look, and I think we all agree. The hair was perfect. That's a guitar god. Yeah.
Oh dear.
And you guys mentioned his Armani suits and Versace straps and things like that. I remember I was going to an event, maybe it was like a wedding or something like that, and I was 13, and I dressed in a black suit and a black short sleeve shirt with the collar. And I remember someone said to me, "Are you going to a funeral?" And I said, "No, I'm dressing as Eric Clapton in 24 Nights."
Well done.
In those first shows, I think he's wearing a black shirt.
In an early version of cosplay, Michael.
Exactly.
I think that's excellent. But I agree with you. I think the sobriety thing is a key thing, isn't it?
That's a great shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the black shirt and the black suit you're talking about, Michael. That's the one that you're trying to pull off.
What's that from? What is that? The book?
Yeah.
What's the title of the book?
The Essential Eric Clapton Guitar Edition. Just a tab book.
I was just looking up online. I found a YouTube of the Four Faces of Eric Clapton, but it's not the full bit, because it was at least 2 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's for me to wake up.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to try and transfer my stuff that I've got to YouTube if I can at some point.
Oh man, that would be awesome, and put it up. Yeah, that'll be fantastic.
Will the Clapton estate chase you down?
Probably.
Yeah, Universal Music will be on you.
Well, they can come after me, and at least I might get some recognition as a musician. Then
if it's only being sued by.
You're reminding me. I posted a Pink Floyd David Gilmour cover of something from the Endless River album that they put out a couple of years ago. I posted it on the day that it came out, and YouTube banned me for 6 months. They removed my video and they banned me for 6 months.
Blimey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Not even just remove the video. They banned me. It was crazy.
Well, I played in a Prince tribute band here in Melbourne, and when he died, we put this thing together. We played 30 songs, and we did a couple of demos, and I sang and played on When Doves Cry, and it got flagged as me because it sounded so close to the original, because I copied every note that he played on it, and I tried to sing like Prince on it and everything, and basically the music was so phenomenal, the musicians were amazing, that they thought it was actually the real thing, and they flagged it for copyright. And then and Instagram did the same thing, and Facebook.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they pulled it, and then I disputed it, saying, "Excuse me, it's a tribute band
or fair use."
Yeah, and they re-enabled it back on Instagram.
That actually happened to me recently. I did a blind faith cover of "Presence of the Lord," but I think
really good. Yeah,
I had the backing. I actually had the original track playing in the background. I was playing bass along with it, so they didn't like that I had the original track, and I get that. But if you're covering it, then they shouldn't really remove it. They can monetize it themselves, though, if they want.
Yeah, I don't understand why they don't let you get on with it, to be honest. But because it's all exposure, isn't it? If they ban all those bands from the 60s and 70s from YouTube and stuff, nobody of any age younger than me is going to go and listen to it. How are you going to know about, I don't know, Clapton, Pink Floyd, Yes, or whoever? If people are not doing things about them, like you doing covers and doing,
right,
being really interesting about them, how are young people going to know? Because they're never going to come across them, because they've all been banned, except there's a bunch of old guys doing it. So none of the people who subscribe to you are going to be able to listen to it, because they've knocked it off. I don't understand it. I think it's weird. And I think you're right. As long as they're earning money from it, what's the problem?
Right.
Well, I think YouTube, when you go on your, because I upload a lot of stuff to, I upload to Spotify and all those, and it goes up to YouTube as well. And they there is when you get a distribution, when you get user distribution company, you can flag it so you can monetize from people playing your stuff as well. So I'm sure I would be surprised if record companies wouldn't do that these days.
It seem to be. I mean, you see Rick Beato is always on some rant about his being banned by somebody for, and he's got 2 million.
Yeah. He'll recreate the songs. He'll play them himself.
Yeah.
And then he won't get taken down. So why can't we do that?
Well, the problem is that they're also claiming chord progressions. Dave Simpson, who's been a guest on one of our shows, did a how to get a Beano Clapton sound inexpensively, and just did a blues progression, an E, and got copyrighted for that. Bizarre.
Really?
Yeah.
I think it's
difficult to fight those things as well, isn't it? If you're not a particularly big.
And I think it's a bit outrageous, actually. But anyway.
Yeah, me too. Good morning, Renus.
Yeah, we know who Renus is, I think. Also known as Johnny.
So you mentioned Beano for a second. Eric, when he was playing with the blues band, I think he had only played with them for 2 or 3 shows before they got the takes that made it to the DVD. So they got together in the beginning of February 1990, and they recorded on February 5th, 1990, and got Have You Ever Loved a Woman, Worried Life Blues, and what was the other one? Watch Yourself. But they played a bunch of other blues standards that night, including All Your Love from Blues Breakers, which is very interesting. They did it in G instead of A, and they played it instrumentally, which was they didn't. No, they did it. Eric actually sang it. My apologies. But yeah, it's just very cool to hear Eric doing songs that he hadn't done in 25 years.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was watching Fender and Gibson clearly made some replicas of his guitars, and the Gibson one he was playing, he was talking about being in the Blues Breakers and the sound, and you guys will know this, but I hadn't sort of picked up the fact. The reason he went back to Fender is because Fender were like the Marshalls that he had in '65 in the Blues Breakers. He equated the Marshall with much more of a Fender sound than a Marshall sound. And he said the reason I went back to Fenders, doing Fenders, was because they were like the Marshall sound. I got, they came from the same root, really, or the same thing. So he said that's why he used Fenders from the, going into the 70s and 80s. That's why he went back to Fenders, because they reminded him of playing much more in the Blues Breakers with his Marshall 50 watt. It was supposed to sound like a Fender, in a sense, and not done the, gone the different route of being a Marshall. Which I thought was, that was interesting. Little tidbits you get in the things you watch that kind of give you a different perspective on what he's doing, really, where he's going. But I don't know what he was, I don't know what he was using at this point when he was doing 24 Nights. What he was using? Was he still using his Soldanos and stuff?
Soldano, yeah.
Soldano and a Marshall cabinet.
Just the one.
And he had a spare just in case.
Yeah. But interestingly, just the one, not great stacks. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Already going back to that's plenty loud enough for anybody. Because I guess what you're doing, as long as you've got enough stage volume to cut through with everybody, then that's fine. And then what goes out for the PA is different. And
his sound at that time was so amazing. The clean sound was brilliant and good for the verses. Sometimes he even added a chorus to his guitar sound on songs like Running on Faith or White Room. And it sounds really, really good. Just a slight chorus. It's not that noticeable, but it sounds really, really good.
Did he have a Leslie thing as well, Michael?
It sounded like he was running the chorus through a loop effects too. That's what it sounds like. Had that sound. And I loved his use of the wah in the 24 Nights as well, because he's not like, especially later, he sort of occasionally used the wah pedal, but he used it a lot in 24 Nights. I remember listening to it and going, because I'm a wah nut, I love wah pedals. So I was doing a lot of wah playing, which was great. And I mean, I love Eric's wah playing, so I wish he would embrace it a bit more these days, but I guess he's not even gigging at the moment. But yeah.
Yeah, you pulled up the Bonhams auction. Yeah, that's what I want for my birthday. It's coming up, 13 days.
Oh, just got time to ship it out, Michael.
I think what did it sell for? Like 30,000? Something like that.
Yeah. So yeah, that's pretty detailed. That's a pretty intricate kind of rig that he's got going there with his rack effects. Yeah, pretty interesting.
It looks like a David Gilmour Pulse setup with that big rack, Pete Cornish rack.
Yeah. I'll try and get a detailed photo, guys. Hold on.
But yeah, I mean, yes, there's the old rack effects, but I mean, in terms of its, two Marshall, two amps, Marshall and Soldado, it's not that, these days you buy a pedal that's got all that stuff in the rack in it, don't you? And it kind of, buy a Strymon or something, and it's got infinitely more possibilities than. So I mean, in terms of those things and using them, I've never used rack mount stuff, so I've not. I presume it takes a bit of programming and a bit of messing about to get what you want out of it. But I guess that's why you employ Pete Cornish to do it for you.
If you got Clapton's money, you can do whatever you like, really.
Well, that seems to be what they do. I mean, Dave Freeman spent a sort of side career doing that, hasn't he? Doing effects, pedal boards, effects units for people, and kind of, clearly setting them up so that they get the sound that the artist wants.
What's on the right?
Okay, so this is
Power, isn't it?
Yeah, hold on, guys. I don't know, but that there is.
Can you go
it's
a bit closer?
It's the 1990 version of the attenuator.
Hold on, guys. See if I can get some
This wacky great thing. It does look like it's plugs on the front, but I'm probably imagining it. But oh, there we are. But yes, it didn't look like a rack. That's what it looked like to me, like one of those power things. You know, you plug everything in and it controls the power kind of thing.
My friend who I mentioned before, Ben Stein, who played one of Eddie Van Halen's guitars a couple of weeks back, wow. He said that there was a Soldano at the house that he was at, and he played through it, obviously playing some Clapton licks, and he told me that he believes that Clapton was playing on the clean channel, like dimed. And on the where'seric.com website, which is a great resource as well. I don't know if you guys know of that website, where'seric.com. I've been following that site probably for 20 years now. Anyway, they have what Clapton was supposedly using, his controls on the Soldano. So right. The bass was at 11, or the middle was at 6. I'm just making up these numbers. But you can go to their website and you'll see what he's using. And I actually have one of those multi-effects pedals called a Line 6 Pod XT, which simulates amplifiers and guitar effects. And they actually have a Soldano amp setting on there. So I just pulled that up and set it to what where'seric.com said, and it wasn't really right. I had to kind of EQ it more so that it sounded closer to Eric's sound.
I think with plugins and with pedal effects and that, they're nowhere near going to be in the ballpark as what a guitar amp usually is, unfortunately. Because just from my experience, like there's even a really new Soldano plugin now, which is the SLO 100 or 1000. I can't remember what it was.
100, yeah, 100.
Yeah, SLO 100. Sorry, because I'm. So there is one. I actually watched Peter Thorne do a demo on it, but they're actually the settings that what I'm getting at is like the settings that you would pull up on an amp aren't going to be the same settings as what you pull up on a pedal or a plugin. Unfortunately, they're just you're going to have to adjust it by ear.
Exactly.
Also, the other thing is too, you got to take into account Eric's length of his cable, his guitar, his hands, everything. So there's so many factors into it. So I always, ballpark starting point, but I adjust things according to my ear as opposed to, because I know some guys that do recordings and they'll pull up, say, a setting by Slash, and they go, I want the Slash tone, and they pull up and they go, how come it doesn't sound like Slash? I go, because you've got to listen to your ears, mate, not just a setting that someone supplied you, but it's a ballpark. It'll start you off. But, I always find that those settings that they save, I bet you Clapton never went to the same setting every time. I'd say he would, EQ it according to the stage,
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, like for most guitar players, you have a starting point, and then you walk on stage and you realize you need a little bit more bottom end, or you need a little bit more top end, depending on the stage. So, or mid range. There was a good starting point. Yeah.
And these controls that Andrew is showing right here could be what Eric had, but that's in context of a band. If you're playing in your house, it's not going to sound the same as if you're with a band. And also, you have to remember that his guitar sound was mixed, mastered. It probably sounds similar to the way it sounded there, but they added the room microphones, the sound of the Royal Albert Hall.
And that's all those factors are a massive amount of to the sound quality. So
post-production,
we've spoken about the Soldanos that Ed Van Halen had on the 50 on 50 show, but even Gary Moore around this same time was using Soldano, and I think Soldano actually made an amp for Stevie Ray Vaughan, who was influenced by Clapton's tone, and he but obviously, unfortunately, Stevie passed away around the time that he was getting that amp delivered to him. So
that's correct.
So
never played it, did he?
No, so he trialed it. I don't think he actually used it in a band setting. I think but yeah, it's unfortunate. But at the time, Soldano was all the rage, especially for a lot of the blues guys were heading over to it, because the cleaner channel, as you said, when you dime that clean channel, it's got a really nice sound to it on its own. But the I've used the Soldano SLO 100, and they're phenomenal amps.
I gotta get my hands on one.
Do they sound really different to the Marshall?
Well, to me,
to the outside, they sound like, the quote is they say it's kind of super Marshall kind of thing. Is that really true? Is it?
They're in the ballpark, but they got their own tonality as well. They like, if, like, say for example, my souped up Marshall that I've got, that's been, that I've got a lot of work done to, would probably be in the ballpark for it. But if you just put depends on the Marshall you're comparing it with, I think. Yeah. But they have got a really nice crunch to them on the gainier channel, so they got a bit more saturation and everything as well. So it's really, they're a wonderful amp. I just wish they were more mass produced, but I guess if they were mass produced, they might not be the quality. So yeah.
The problem with a high gain amp, I had a 6505, the 12-inch single speaker amp, which is a high gaining amp, obviously, and there were a lot of guys using that amp to get close to the ballpark of Gary Moore. You can turn the gain down a bit, and there's a couple of guys playing No Alibis, doing covers of Clapton with that amp. But the burden that we have with a lot of amps, guys, is that you've got to turn that up, and in a suburban house, a 6505 at 7 or 8 is just going to blow the neighbours, So that's another thing too that we often talk about, and we've all got experiences, haven't we? That you're not going to get. Doesn't matter how well you've got the settings. Doesn't matter that Michael's managed to jump up on the stage and sneak behind all that security and take photographs of Clapton's amp settings, and then runs home and programs that onto his amp. It's not going to sound like it, because Michael's got his amp set at 2.
It's funny. It's funny.
Michael's got his amp set at 10 in his apartment. Block out the sound of the neighbours.
Michael lives in an ISO booth. We know that.
When I bought my 5150, my PV 5150, I bought it brand new, and it came with all Ed's settings, and I tried them, and they sounded like absolute rubbish.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So
because they're set for a band setting, are they? Kind of.
Well, they're set for
Van
him.
Halen band setting,
and his volume and his guitar and pickups,
and him.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to push more mid range in and more bottom end and stuff like that. The settings that came with my Jubilee amps for Slasher settings, I never even tried them, because I knew that just looking at them, I'd have to crank my amp probably, twice the volume I am to get that in the ballpark with those settings. Yeah. So,
Melbourne will be out in protest.
Pretty much.
I've never taken my Fender Hot Rod Deluxe above 3. It goes up to, I think, 12.
Yeah,
I think it's 40 watts, and it's deafening.
Michael, I used to have a high watt 100 watt, right? Bearing in mind a pub band. It was probably a 70s one, to be honest. It was like quite old. Yeah, well, you do and looking back, well, I wouldn't have it still now, because it was ridiculous. But I had I played in a pub band. It's a 412 cab, which was about that thick. It's like you could live in it, the cab, and never mind lug it around. It was just ridiculous. And this place, you couldn't. There was never a place I could play with it on more than a half,
right?
One. It was just like ridiculous. It was like it was way. If you turn it up to 4 in a pub, I mean, you just have the back wall out. It was. It sounded great, but it was unusable in any real situation.
So I don't know why we're still making amps that loud. I mean, yes, you get a different tone when it's that loud when you dime an amp, and you've got all that wattage. But speaker technology and PA systems are so good today that you don't need to have your amp at 100 watts. You can have your amp at 20, 30 watts.
Yeah.
You could hear it on the stage, and if you have a mic on it, everyone in the audience will hear it. So I don't think there's a huge need for 100-watt amps unless they're on the side of the stage facing away from the audience and you're micing it.
In most pubs in England, we wouldn't get away with that at all. It doesn't work. So I sold it and bought a 30-watt PV Delta Blues, which is great, you know. And I swore, rather tongue-in-cheek, I said, you know, I'll buy a bigger amp when somebody comes up and says, turn up. 30 years later, nobody's ever come up and said, can you turn up?
Never.
It's quite right. But so no, I have this 30-watt PV Delta Blues, which you're right, I play on 4, you know, in a band setting on 4. But
Right.
I don't even play even that 30 watts. Don't play with it on 8.
Right.
It does go up to 12 as well, by the way. For those of us from but you know, I wouldn't dream of, you know, 4 is plenty loud enough in a band scenario. Remember when I played with.
What you're mentioning is actually a really important point. And if you listen to the songs on 24 Nights, during the verses, Eric's guitar is very low. Very low. It's like buried in the mix. The focus is the drums and his voice and all the other instrumentalists, like the keys, the backing vocalists, all of that is the focus. When he takes a solo, obviously the guitar volume comes up, but in the verses, the guitar is not the focus.
No, that's right. Always, you just because it's backing for the singing, and that's the important bit. You turn it up for the solos, don't you? When it replaces the singing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it teaches guitar players that, you know, you don't have to be full up or have your guitar that high during a song.
It's one of those things, isn't it, Michael? It depends what you're doing, doesn't it? You know, if the emphasis of your band is really on playing wild and crazy guitar, then you have the guitars up loud. If you're Eric, where it is actually about the song and about, you know, the dynamics of the song, and you know, clearly a major part of any song that Clapton is about the vocals and about the singing. You know, what you're not having is the guitar cranked, you know, all the time. Different type of band. If you're in a heavy metal band, it's all about having the guitars cranked.
Right.
You know,
It's
think,
the style. The style, it's the choice of song. Right.
Yeah, you know, and you know, clearly Clapton knows that, you know, he knows what to do, you know, he knows when to knock it off and when to wind it up, you know, and and I think that's, you know, but for him, you know, the balance, especially when you get into the 90s, the balance of those songs is all about, you know, everything's balanced, the instruments are right, and you know, and you just when he played with Joe Bonamassa at the Royal Albert Hall in 2011 or whatever it was, he just turned up with a guitar and a Fender, you know, twin, and a Fender twin, you know, on his own. I mean, put it on, you know, I'm ready.
Bonamassa shares that video like once a week, because it's still a dream for him.
I know, and it's really cool, you know. I mean,
it's a great performance.
Yeah, you know, but I love the thing that he turns up in his own car, just with an amp in the back, you know. He's Fender twin and a Strat. Right, okay, I'm ready. You know, not. You know, I mean, you know, Bonamassa said then, I think he was using Marshalls, wasn't he? Several Marshalls cranked. You know, Clapton, no, I'm not doing that. I just put it there. I'm done. I'm ready. You know, put a mic in front of it. I'll go out to PA. Somebody will sort it out. As long as I can hear myself, I'm good. I mean, I admire that. I think that's, for me, that's, you know, that's what I really admire is you could just turn up on your own, just with an amp and a guitar, and be you.
The Royal Albert Hall he calls it his home, so
yeah.
Or his living room. His living room.
Yeah, I mean, I clearly understand how the dynamics of it work and how that, you know, he knows that he can take a Fender twin, and you know, tweak it or whatever it is, and be able to hear himself, you know, with a band. Clearly, he knows that, you know, and doesn't need to turn up with roadies and you know, racks and you know, wheeling on huge amounts of gear.
Yeah, he's
Really
comfortable. He's comfortable with that setup, and it's very simple. And I think he likes to influence his other backing guitarists on what they should be using. I think at
Does
one
he?
point, I think
Does
at
he
one
say to
point
them, "That'll be fine"?
he said to Doyle Bramhall II, he said, "Why do you need all those effects? Just play your guitar." And I guess when your boss says that to you, and your boss is Eric Clapton, you might take a couple fewer effects to the gig.
It sounds like the equipment version of "Why You Want to Work So Hard." You know, the BB King thing to Billy Gibbons. You know, why you want to work so hard? It sounds like the equipment equivalent to that. But yeah, I agree. I mean, you know, I'm all for that. You know, I mean, I don't know about you guys. I spend all my time just plugging my guitar directly into my amp. You know,
Yeah.
that PV has reverb on it. I like reverb, so it's got a nice spring. You know, it's great. My whole thing is, can I get a reasonable sound? I'm not very good, but can I get a reasonable sound out of just plugging the guitar into the amp? Never mind the bits in between. That's just, you know, to me, they're fine and they work, and they give the guitar a different sound for whatever you're doing. That's great. But actually, the heart of it is, can you plug it in, set your guitar up, and just so you can.
I think the best way, though, to realise that you just need to plug your amp into your guitar into an amp is you have to go through that process of being a tone chaser and buying all these effects. You know, there are some certain effects that you got to have. You know, a couple of shows ago, Brad mentioned that you have to have a univibe. You know, he maintains that if you got a strap, you know, to get some, and I agree with him. I agree with him. You know, I've been listening to some Univibe plugins through, you know, my setup here in the hope of getting a Univibe pedal. But to be fair, though, I think, you know, having a good overdrive is good for an amp. You know, that amp that you've got, your Fender 40 watt, so you can't turn that up. But if you want some good crunch at a bedroom level, you know, having a overdrive pedal is probably really important if you want to jam along to some, you know, Clapton stuff, because you're not going to be able to turn it up to 7 or 10. But I agree with you, Simon, about Eric Clapton, what he said about the Royal Albert Hall. I think there's one thing too that we have to remember, and he mentions it in his biography, besides the fact that he knows what it can offer as far as him as a band leader and a guitarist. He loves it because everybody can see him. He can see everybody. People are right up at his feet. He can see the people up in the where John Lennon said, you know, the people with all the jewelry, you know,
rattle the jewelry.
Yeah. You know, the people with the season tickets. I've never been to the Royal Albert Hall, but I've seen, you know, obviously a lot of gigs and a lot of photos there, and it sounds like a great place. Everybody says it's an awesome venue.
It's amazing. Have
you've been there?
Yes,
I've been there. Yeah, lots of times, and my wife's sung there. My wife and my daughter have sung there.
Wow,
awesome.
So, you know, well, because choirs are a big thing, you know. It's kind of. So they, you know, there was a whole choir event to the Albert Hall, so they went and sung in the Albert Hall. Fantastic.
Oh, the nights of the proms.
No, not the proms. No. This was just a. I can't remember what it was, to be honest. But yeah, they're one of many choirs to sing there. So Caroline's sung there. Fantastic.
I was there in 2018, and I took a tour, and obviously, as you guys have mentioned, so many concerts have been recorded there. A concert for George was unbelievable. Led Zeppelin, David Gilmour has played there. Everyone's played there. Paul McCartney, the concert for Montserrat. So many DVDs. Anyway, it was just absolutely unbelievable to walk around, and it was like I was in the video. And just to see the stage and just to feel the energy, even though there was no one in there. They were actually getting ready for the proms.
Mm-hmm.
And they had a bunch of actors and musicians on stage. So that was very cool. And I was going to tell the story when we were ranking the tracks, but I'll tell it now. I brought my phone, obviously, and a headphone splitter and 2 pairs of headphones. And when we walked from the hallway into the actual venue, into the hall where you see the stage, we sat down in the back, in the center. And I gave my dad a set of headphones, and I put on headphones myself. And I played White Room from 24 Nights while looking at the stage. And I was just soaking in everything.
Yeah.
And it was unbelievable. It was one of the best moments of my life.
Yeah. Could I say, this is the quality of our audience. Mark Tanner, proper proscenium arch theatre classic design. See, proscenium that's a word, you know. It's like, well done, Mr. Tanner. I'm all about the word, and that's a fantastic word. And there we are, quality of our audience.
Thank you for sharing that with us, Mark, and thank you for sharing that experience with us too, Michael. Because as a Clapton nut, I'm envious that you even had the audacity to think to plan ahead to do something like that. My gosh, you know, fantastic. I'm envious that you guys have been to. You know, the Madison Square Gardens, you've seen gigs there, and you've seen, you know, gigs at
his hometown
the Royal Albert Hall.
So, before quarantine, I used to take the train into the city, and the train takes me to Penn Station, which is just a major transit hub. And Penn Station is attached to Madison Square Garden. So I saw it pretty much every single day.
Wow.
And again, because so many concerts were recorded there, I used to say that Madison Square Garden is my favorite venue. And I think it still might be, because I haven't been to many other venues. But Royal Albert Hall is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a show
Are they
there.
both in the round?
Yeah.
They are, aren't they? The Madison Square Gardens is in the round. You have all around, don't you? And yeah.
Royal Albert Hall seems more oval.
Is it? Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. But they still have what I was thinking of. They have a stage in the middle and the audience all the way around.
Oh, no.
Do they have that in the gardens?
Sometimes they'll organize it where the stage is in the center and the fans are around it. There's a famous performance of Frank Sinatra in 1973, I think 1973, when he's in the center, kind of the way that they would have like a boxing match in the center of the arena.
Yeah. And Brad has the MCG,
Rod Laver Arena, all these wonderful places that are empty at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I know because the Bruce Springsteen's played there, and I swear that he plays in the round when he plays there, when he did some gigs there last. Yeah, which is why in my memory it's in the round. But it's interesting not everyone plays in the round necessarily.
So you've got some keyboards there, Michael. Is there any particular reason why you're
a few tunes?
you're sitting in front of some keyboards? Is there a plan?
I thought today was going to be the day where we talk about the tracks or ranking the tracks. So I was going to maybe demonstrate a thing or two from 24 Nights.
Mate, if you want to do some demonstrations, but no, the rankings is the next show. This is the preparatory show, you know. So this is probably a good example then, or a good idea. What do you guys reckon? Get Michael to just talk about some tracks, some chord progressions. Is that cool?
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah. Could I say I've just gone on the Madison Square Gardens website, right? Nowhere does it have anything about the history of Madison Square Gardens.
It was located, I think, more uptown, actually. My parents told me that it was at a different location before it moved to its current.
Oh, really? Is it? Oh, it's had multiple locations, is it?
Yeah.
Right.
So when the Stones played there in '69, it's not the same place.
Not the same place, no. How interesting. Yeah. No, well, I was thinking that if you go to an official website of a famous venue like that, one bit might be, here is the history of the place a bit, not a glimmer of it. I have to go to Wikipedia for that. So, blimey, let's have a look. It's the 4th venue to bear its name, Madison Square Gardens. Wow, so it's been 4.
Awesome. I just want to do a quick shout out, Michael, before you just discuss some songs, but don't give us any rankings, please. We've got Great Vanzini in the chat. Hello, Great Vanzini.
Arvin.
And Nelson. Arvin jumped in.
Yeah.
And there was someone else that I missed before Brian. Well, we've said good day to Brian. So, yeah. So, what have you got planned there, Michael, to show us?
For Running on Faith, I was just going to demonstrate something that Greg Philliganes and Nathan East do that kind of help progress the song to reach the second solo, I guess. So Greg and Nathan really, really are great musicians, and they support the song so perfectly on Running on Faith and everything else that they're included on. But they do something very interesting during the Love Comes Over You section of Running on Faith. I guess I'll just demonstrate it. So the Love Comes Over You part is... So that happens a couple of times. And I think Eric sings it maybe 4 times by himself. And then what happens is Greg Philliganes and Nathan East start singing harmonies with him. So one of them is singing this note, and then, which is a D note, and the other musician is singing a G note. And then they're singing Love Comes Over You just a couple of times.
Wow.
So this is called fourths musically. So I'm playing a D note. So a G note is 4 notes away from D. So D, E, F, G. So the relationship from this first note to the last note is what we call fourths. Yeah. So they're singing, the backup vocalists are singing fourths. Love comes over you. And then eventually, after 4 times of that, they start singing higher. So instead of, they begin singing.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see I'm playing higher on the keyboard.
Is that an octave, Michael?
No, they're actually not singing an octave higher. No. So these are fifths, D and G. They're keeping this G note the second time when they're singing higher, and now they're singing a B with the G and B, and these are called thirds. G. Yeah. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G are the notes in a scale. So these notes are G and B. So G, A, B. So the relationship between these notes are what we call thirds.
Yep.
So in the beginning of the Love Comes Over You section, they're doing fourths. This is actually a third. The last part of it is a third. And then when they're singing the second part of that refrain, they're singing these thirds. And they're kind of setting Eric up for his guitar solo. So they're kind of stacking harmonies, and it just sounds really, really great. And they're advancing the song to the guitar solo. Yeah. And that's something that is just next level musicianship. They could have sang those same harmonies throughout, but they chose to sing higher as the song progressed. And I found that very, very smart.
Yeah, it's really cool. Yeah. Could I say, Greg filling games, not played with just everybody, is he? Stevie Wonder, David Gilmour,
Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson. Oh, wow. Yeah. I hadn't realised it. Mick Jagger, Paul Simon. I mean, yeah. I mean, hats off to him. That's he's played with them all, hasn't he?
Yeah,
rubbish there. Well done him. Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, clearly having that sort of musicianship will get you a long way, won't it?
I think so, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they came up with those arrangements or if Eric came up with those arrangements. I know that he has input a lot of the time, but he's also working with also brilliant musicians. So I'm sure everyone has input in those bands. And then they find out what Eric likes and then they stick to it. But something interesting about that band is that, like Eric, they all experimented. They weren't doing the same things every night. There are some parts that they have to do that are part of the song, but Eric kind of gave them the freedom to improvise as they pleased. And the backing vocalists would have a couple of riffs and not show off, but they would have their spotlight. And the same goes for keyboards or bass. And the thing about the mix and the arrangement is that no one is competing with each other ever. They're all working together.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the way it was mixed. Maybe it didn't sound that way, but it just sounds like, okay, the bass gets a feature here. Now the piano gets a feature. Now the vocals get a feature. The backing vocals get a feature. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
It's like scenes in a movie, and or characters walking into a room.
That's a really good analogy. Yeah.
It's just a very well arranged and performed album.
Do you know how much rehearsal they did, Michael, for it?
I think the rehearsals were the shows, but they actually
they're that good, are they? You can just turn up and
they would rehearse during the day for the next type of show, I think.
They were correct because of the different but only on that day. I mean, Eric didn't get them together and kind of go, let's run through some things in a studio.
Maybe. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. Well, Clapton doesn't have like a 2 or 3 week rehearsal period in preparation for a tour, like, for example, the Rolling Stones, who have to get into the groove because, they've been away for a while. But certainly from the research that I've done, most of the guys and girls that are in Clapton's band are, obviously shit-hot musicians.
So that, doesn't he? But he does have the same.
So they jump in, and there's been many times where people have said, that the rehearsals have been the sound check, and how many times can a band have that kind of rehearsal time? It's phenomenal, isn't it?
Well, yeah, depends what sort of band you are. So it depends who you are, kind of thing. But no, I do find it interesting that those kind of a lot of those 60 guys are like that, aren't they? I mean, Dylan's famously like that, no rehearsals, never quite sure what he's playing. I was watching this. I was watching a lovely documentary about J.J. Cale, in which Clapton appears, and Clapton said he joined him on one of the Crossroads things. He said, "It took me 3 minutes to work out we were playing After Midnight." I recorded it. It's like
I appreciate you going through that with us, Michael, because I'm going to listen to that song now in fourths and thirds. That's going to be in the back of my mind now. So I'm just a blues guitar player, Michael. I just
I'm not a musicologist by any means. I just was listening to the song recently, and I think it was my friend and bandmate Godfrey Townsend who pointed that out to me. He said that the first harmonies are, well, he's a musical director, so
Okay.
He's paying attention as well.
He knows of what he
Okay.
speaks. Yes.
He's
Okay.
paying attention, and he turned me on to that, I believe, because I've performed that song with him and another guy, Dylan DeFeo, and we're singing the backup harmonies, and Godfrey is singing the lead. So
Wow.
we have to know what to do to be faithful to that version.
All right, and you
Anything
are
else you
doing
wanna
it
share
like
with
you are
us?
doing it like that, Michael. Are you with the thirds and the fifths?
One more time, Simon.
You are doing it that way, the way
Yeah.
you've just described. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. It's like so much, isn't it? These things, they are all about the detail, about what somebody does at a particular instance or in a particular place to give it a lift, give it a change.
Exactly.
Which is really cool.
If things stayed the same throughout the song, it wouldn't progress as well as it did this way.
No, absolutely, yeah. But it's it's small changes, not done by Eric, but done by other people. That make the difference and give it the lift and give it the.
You bring up a good point because there's something that happens in what's the song? I think it could be "Dreams" by Fleetwood Mac, and I think Christine McVie, the keyboardist, said she was kind of bored by that song because it sounds like it's a 2-chord song. But something that Lindsey Buckingham did on the Rumours album, Fleetwood Mac, is that he kind of inverted the chords and he arpeggiated them, which means that he played the individual notes of them. And over this, after a while of that, doing da 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 da, it gives it that lift, and it's different to the listener, and it creates that progression, and it makes it more interesting. And then eventually, Christine McVie kind of liked the song because there was this movement. It wasn't just two chords, even though it is 2 chords. There was more.
Well, it's what you can do with 2 chords, isn't it? What you have to do to make it interesting and change it some of the way through to make it so that something different happens for the listener's ear. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah.
So that's what a good arranger does. And Greg Philliganes, we know, is an amazing arranger. And Nathan East has worked with everyone, and they both get music, and they were.
He's worked for Clapton for a long time, hasn't he, Nathan East? Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Fantastic. And we haven't mentioned Steve Ferroni yet. Who's
the great Steve Ferroni, yes, indeed.
I think he's probably the best drummer that Eric has played with.
Agreed.
Ooh, better than Ginger? You'll probably get haunted by Ginger now.
No, for Eric Clapton, I'm talking about, not Cream, but for
it's Eric Clapton solo.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, okay.
He's worked with some amazing drummers. Amazing.
Yeah. But you're right. Steve Ferroni's a fantastic drummer. Yeah. And
his drum sound, and he's completely on time. The whole DVD.
Is he playing to a click track?
He is his own click track. I read about him, and he took up, I think, tap dancing at a young age. So he was always rhythmically involved, I guess. Yeah. And then he later joined Tom Petty. And I think he played with him until Tom Petty passed away.
Yeah, because there's that one track on, is it Mojo Rising, where he does the best John Bonham. There's one track on, I think it's Mojo Rising. Hold on a sec, I can find it as it's here. Oh, don't do that. Yeah, here we are. There's one track on here that where they sort of do a Zeppelin pastiche, but his drumming on it is absolutely phenomenal. I don't know. I never know which one it is. on this album. I don't know if you know this album at all. There's one track on here that just sounds like, here he is at the back. Great photo of Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. Look at that. There's Steve. Where is he? There, going that way. There he is. Yeah. So amazing drummer. Absolutely.
Fantastic.
With his own internal metronome.
And Clapton's band actually backed up George Harrison in like a year after 24 Nights. Clapton was ready to do some touring, and I think George was looking to get back on the road, and so they went to Japan, and Clapton lent him his band, which Clapton had said that his current band, the Journeyman 24 Nights band, was the best band he ever had, or the best band in the world. He had said something in a Rolling Stone article in 1991 that he had the best band in the world.
Yeah.
And I agree with him on that.
Yeah.
And I wish he would work with them again. And he is now working with Katie Kassoon again.
Yes.
He brought her back into the picture, which I'm so happy about.
Yeah.
I think that
she's a great singer.
I don't know if I had mentioned this before, but I always thought that Katie Kassoon and Tessa Niles' blend with Eric's voice was the best vocal blend that they ever had. of all the backing female vocalists that Eric has had, I think that was the best.
Oh, I'm not going to disagree with you. And that gig in Argentina at River Plate clearly illustrates how they slotted in behind Eric's vocals very well. No disrespect to Sharon White, and they're fantastic back-end singers, but they tend to you almost get the impression that they want to burst out and solo themselves, which I don't. I'll be careful what I say here, but I think you're very correct there, Michael. And also her biography and her insights on Eric Clapton as a band leader is outstanding. So he ran that band like a machine. We got to remember that. So I think, how you gave us the example there of the fourths and the thirds, Michael. I wouldn't be surprised if Clapton was involved in deciding how that progression is going to go. Because he was involved clearly in how that band was operating.
Yeah. Could I say, just going back to Steve Ferroni, I didn't know Steve Ferroni was English. I'd sort of not picked that up at all. And he was in the Average White Band with the classic, which is I don't know if you guys know the Average White Band. You cut the cake and pick up the pieces are absolute classic bits of white funk instrumentals. If you haven't checked them out, check them out. They're fantastic.
Great
fantastic groove. Yeah.
Steve Ferroni does a ton of session work, and he plays on Duran Duran's "Ordinary World," which is one of my favorite songs.
Mm-hmm.
That's an underrated song, underrated guitar solo. No one talks about that guitar solo.
That's right. Played drums for Duran Duran at Abbey Road Studios. There we are. And
also on Notorious, which is also a big hit for them. But you could totally see that that's him after watching 24 Nights. He does these like hi-hat barks, which is incredible. And that goes back to his like funk playing in Average White Band.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, with of course Robbie McIntosh, who went to play with Paul McCartney a long time.
Wow.
Yeah, and then was
any other
Ferroni.
Any other keyboard snips there for us, Michael, that you want to illustrate?
Fantastic.
I think Running on Faith was the only one that I was going to just demonstrate those fourths and thirds. As we go on to the other songs, there might be some things, or where I'll just play a couple of chords or something like that.
Okay, all right. I just
who are the other?
I just didn't want to get in the way of any preparation that you had for this show. But if if you want to keep those examples for the ranking of the tracks, that's fantastic. That's no problem. Bear in mind, though, guys, that the DVD that we're going to rank is 13 songs. So we just need to make sure that we are succinct and on the spot, so that everybody can get some opinions and some rankings. And otherwise, we'll be here for 5 hours. We can go. If it's okay, we could probably stretch it out to another show. We'll see how we go, guys. I'm open to that rather than, skip over it. I'm keen to hear what Michael has to say in particular on these rankings. You guys want to talk about that before we move on? You got any opinions on that?
I think it sounds. I wanted to ask a question actually. Who are the other guitar players on this? I know they're different for different nights, aren't they? Might be worth.
Phil Palmer is
Phil Palmer.
His backing guitar player in the 9-piece band.
Right. And then he's got one of the nights. He's got Robert Cray, isn't he?
Robert Cray and Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy.
On the blues nights. They get some solos though.
No,
on one song. Was it on Watch Yourself? Yeah, Watch Yourself.
Probably, yeah. I think Watch Yourself. Yeah. So surrounding himself with some pretty wizardly talent.
Well, I think Clapton used to do that even on the tour where he had Stevie Ray Vaughan opening for him. He used to do the blues extension of have all the guitarists come up on stage for 1 or 2 songs or whatever. So I think he's just continuing that on in his own little thing, inviting them along, being part of it. So
very interesting.
Interesting. See, Phil Palmer is not a name I really know at all, to be honest.
He used to play with Mark Knopfler a bit too, Phil Palmer. From memory.
Oh, he's played with Dire Straits, Wishbone Ash, George Michael, Chris de Burgh, Robbie Williams, David. Guys play with them all. Interesting fact. His uncles are Ray and Dave Davis from the Kinks.
Wow. Who's the keyboardist from Dire Straits? Alan Clark.
Alan Clark, yeah.
I think Eric hired him to play organ or keyboard on a couple of the tracks on 24 Nights. I'm not positive though, because Chuck Leavell is also on the 9-piece nights.
Did he have more than one keyboard player for the bigger?
Greg Philliganes and either Chuck Leavell or Alan Clark. I don't know. I'm not positive.
It's a lot of Alan Clarks. I think Alan Clark, Dire Straits.
It's funny that Eric took the Soldanos from Mark Knopfler, and then he started taking Mark Knopfler's musicians.
I guess it's not quite like that. I guess it's, the word gets around, don't they? He's a great musician. He's a good, and doesn't take much to get noticed, doesn't it? Somebody will notice, go to a show.
Yeah.
Oh, right, there we are. God, he played on Infidels, Bob Dylan. Well, see, things you miss because it all gets too big to just to contain in one head. God, Trevor Horn, Rod Stewart, all sorts of people. Yeah, Matt Monro, Mark Knopfler, Nick Hucknall, Elton John, George Harrison. Wow, it's amazing. Yeah. Where did he start? I don't know. He's just been a session musician by the looks of it.
So, guys, I've noticed our channel has got very, very close to 500 subscribers now. We're 3 away. I think we'll
subscribe, people.
Subscribe. So basically, guys, anyone that's in the chat or watching this later, make sure you subscribe. We've got 3 away from, our giveaway. So once we get to 500, we're going to give away a T-shirt of your choice from the Van Halen store. So get in there, got to be in it to win it. And Andrew's just looking in the background, watching every day to see who gets up to 500, and then we're going to go live at some point and announce a winner.
Yeah, we'll do a live draw. So let's make sure, guys, that we're on the ball for the 13 tracks for the next show. That'll be good. Michael, if you want to have your keyboard set up, and if you want to do some illustrations of some of the songs, no problem. And obviously, Brad, if you want to crank that Marshall up and throw
Please.
that throw that Strat in too. I'm more than happy to have some musical snips for the song rankings. And guys, if we have to stretch the show to another show, and Michael wants to come back, I suppose we can have a look at that.
Why would I want to do
I'll
that?
get up earlier.
Yeah,
I can get up earlier. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So we'll be yeah. I'll send out some notifications, but if you guys just bear with me and let me just
500 team, we have reached 500 subscribers.
Wow.
Awesome.
That was quick.
Can you, where is it? Can you see?
That was easy.
500 subscribers. Thank you, Warren,
Fantastic.
who has arrived. And there we are. We have reached 500 subscribers.
Awesome. So if you guys want to just check Brad out there on Instagram at Brad Cook Music, and there is Michael there, and we'll have the proper date and the time for part 2 of the show. So that would be pretty important for you guys if you want to lock in those dates and those times. 500 subscribers.
Yeah.
Wow.
Excellent.
There you go, Andrew. We made it.
2 of my students pushed us over. Thank you, Warren.
Thank you, Warren.
Legend. And can I just answer? Great Vanzini. Yeah, no, it was the 60s singer Matt Monroe who he was backing up. Not some other Matt Monroe. It's not 2.
You better give that strap back to Warren now.
Yeah, Brad.
My sincere apologies again, Michael,
for Michael
for the time zone and the time mix up. So my colleagues and I will be here with you next week, and we'll be on the ball.
No worries at all.
Hey, Johnny Heartbreaker, how you doing?
Yeah, we know who Johnny is. Hey, Derek, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate
Derek,
your cool and kind and awesome comments.
Yeah.
Thank you, Derek.
Did you see this week I had that Gretsch Falcon I played?
Yes.
Yeah. There's a funny story about that. My daughter is good friends with her, somebody, and it's her dad who's got it, but it's not his, because my daughter came to me and said, "Look, Tom's got this new guitar." So I messaged him going, "Wow, that's a cool guitar." And he said, "Yeah, it's not mine." He said, I'm keeping it for a friend of mine who's bought it, but hasn't plucked up the courage to show it to his wife yet." So he's hiding it. He's hiding it at Tom's house while he plucks up the courage. He's selling an orange one, I think. Whenever the sort of Brian sets one. But yeah,
you just have to keep buying guitars in the same color so that they don't.
Yeah. So we had that gag as well. Yeah. The trouble is, it's a bit more difficult to buy a cheap Gretsch White Falcon and then buy an expensive one, isn't it? I don't know about that. I don't think that works as a thing. Whereas you could certainly do it with a Strat, couldn't you? You absolutely could buy a Squire Strat for £100 and then replace it with a custom shop one, the same colour. Hi Sonia, how you doing? Hope you're good. So that's funny. The other thing that happened, I've got something else to show this week before we go. Package with, because I've been entertaining myself with this. Look at that.
Oh,
Wow.
great show at the
The Greek.
at the Greek Theater. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've had it on. Somebody did me a copy of it on CD a long time ago. I can't remember who it was, and I dug it out, and put it in my car, and I've been absolutely loving it. So I just went online to see if you could get it and on vinyl, and I found this vinyl copy, HMV, so which I bought. Fantastic. Which
20.
is just 20th anniversary. Yes, I know everything's a 20th anniversary.
Wow. Wow.
It was. Where is it? I don't know. I don't remember when it was done, but yeah, it's absolutely. I don't know if you guys. I mean, I'm sure you know this, but it's absolutely brilliant.
I have it. I have it.
Yeah. Have you got it on CD? Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Was it? I mean, clearly it was released on CD, but then was it not released for a while? Then because I couldn't. I remember looking for it a while back and not being able to find it at all.
I'm not sure.
I don't know
They might have re-released it, Simon.
Yeah.
Because
I just naturally assumed.
I believe Jimmy Page went back and remastered it, or was going to. So I think maybe that.
No, okay, yeah.
He's going back doing most of that stuff that he's
so
done. But it's a phenomenal.
It says remastered in 2019, so I'd be interested to see. But the CD is, like, as I've got in my car, it's just magnificent. I mean, I think it's it captures the essence of those Zeppelin songs in a way that I didn't think really was really that possible with Jimmy Page playing with another band. And I think particularly, could I say, the Steve Gorman, the drummer, an amazing job on, because trying to do John Bonham, I think he's an incredibly and I think he doesn't do John Bonham, but he pulls off the drums fantastically well.
Yes.
I bring my new guitars in, put them in an old. It's typical of you, Warren, to have a plan so long and so cunning. takes more. You've filled up the amount of words you're allowed to type in as a comment.
Another great thing about the Live at the Greek show was that they had a couple of guitarists, so they could actually recreate the sounds on the original records. Jimmy never had another guitarist doing those parts.
That's correct.
He was always doing it by himself, so it was kind of empty, but he made it work, and it sounded okay. It sounded pretty good. But this DVD has the songs or the performances kind of sounding like the original versions with the original textures.
Textures, yeah.
Yes, and you've hit the nail on the head, and that's the reason why, because you've got that fuller studio sound in a live environment, and that was what always captured me when I first heard that CD. Was just wow, how fantastic, how good it was, that fuller sound, unbeatable. I'd love to check the new remastered version. I'll have to get a copy of that too, to see what it's like, because the remasters that Page has been involved in it generally been met with pretty good reviews.
Interesting. This was a triple album. It's 25 quid, 25 pounds. So it wasn't like, I didn't feel like it was over. Quite a lot of time you pay £20 for a single. Single album, whereas this is a triple. So I think it's you get good value. I like the cover as well. It looks a bit like a bootleg, but it's not.
Simon, did they do 10 Years Gone on that?
They did.
I remember.
Where is it?
I remember the Lemon song. I remember that being a very good performance.
The 10 Years Gone was great because they covered all the guitar parts properly, which was fantastic.
Yeah, 10 Years
Gone. I love that song.
Yeah. I did. Yeah. You're right. I mean, I was going to bring it out about when you've got three guitarists, there's a lot of options open to you, aren't there, in terms of what they can do and what you can fill if you've got the things to three things for them to do, kind of thing. And I think it's oh wow, look at that. Yeah, let's just show the insides, because it's worth a show, I think. Oh my god! So yeah, look at that. Go back a bit and get it all in.
I forgot why Jimmy stopped working with them. I think he had an issue with one of the members, maybe.
I can't remember.
That's correct.
Which one?
Him and the
Drummer?
Chris.
Oh, really?
Chris Robinson.
No. Well, I suppose there's a lot of versions, but the version that I heard is that him and Chris
Robinson?
found it a little bit difficult, and they were supposed to go and tour for many more months, but it was Chris Robert. No, who's the guitar player? Rich is the guitar player.
Rich is the guitar player. Yeah, Rich Robinson.
And Chris is the singer. I should know that. We're all Black Crowes nuts here. So Chris and Jimmy Page had some issues. I understand.
Yeah. I've heard a few different versions of that, so I don't know which is right, but
What have you heard?
I actually did hear that one with Rich, and then I heard that there was not a falling out, but I think Jimmy Page pulled the pin on it after the tour because he just found it difficult to work with. I thought it was Chris, but okay. And the bass player, interestingly, there was something to do with the bass player they used, which I'm not going to comment on too much because I can't remember 100%.
Sven Pippian.
But with the liner notes and with the photos, they photoshopped him out of it.
That's correct. Yes.
So I don't want to speculate because I can't remember.
You're absolutely right. Yep.
But I remember reading something about that, and that might have something to do with it as well. But but you also got to remember, I think Page was always looking at trying to always do something with.
Sorry.
You're right. He was always trying to do something.
He doesn't appear there, does he?
No, he's not there.
And the group shot, they photoshopped him out because I've got two versions of this on CD, and the first version I got was released from the Black Crowes website with an extra couple of songs on it, and it had the photo with all the band members. And then when I bought it, the official release, it had him photoshopped out, and I think one or two songs less.
This is going to be hilarious. I think there is one photograph of him. Of course, it's in the middle. In the. I can't see what I'm doing, guys. Is he on that one? I think he's on that one, isn't he?
They photoshopped him
out from the left.
Lower.
Yeah, I think they photoshopped him out of that photo.
That's correct.
But he's in that photo, isn't he?
No.
Isn't there a bass player in there, or is it somebody?
No, he's not in there.
There's a drummer.
Wow. I can't. The triple album sleeve is quite a cumbersome. So there are
You're right.
people,
You're right. You're right, Brad. I remember reading that. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Because we love the Black Crowes.
Yeah.
And Page, of course.
They seem to have a bit of a history of. I don't know, because they split up for ages, didn't they? The brothers had a bit of a. The
brothers were renowned for always fighting and punching each other up during tours and everything. Yeah. One of my friends toured with the Black Crowes, like as the opening band for the Black Crowes, and he reported some weird and wonderful things, which I won't repeat on here. But they were quite.
Tell me later.
They were quite rude. They were quite rude to them at one point, and they and I won't say too much, but yeah, apparently they were very difficult to work between each other, let alone with other bands.
So the sad thing about them is that the brothers buried the hatchet, and they were going to go out and tour Shake Your Moneymaker, but this global thing happened, and all those plans were put on the back burner, which is a bummer. So I wonder if they'll tour.
Make note that they it was just going to be the brothers with the new lineup, though. Yeah,
and didn't include the original drummer.
None of them.
And he's on the outer because apparently in his book he's spilling the beans too about them. So,
yeah. So you mean you don't have to go too far into this to discover why Jimmy Page didn't carry on with it. I mean, if the brothers are having a good tilt off and all that, I imagine he would find that quite difficult.
Yeah.
And clearly, I would guess that also Jimmy Page is used to being the leader, of course, isn't he? And no raised from existence. Yes, Nelson. Yeah, yeah. Photoshop is a wonderful thing.
I'm starting to remember now. So I think it had something to do with drug use as well. The Black Crowes being stoned all the time, and Jimmy
heavy smokers, aren't they?
Yes, and okay. So there was an article there where Jimmy thought that was probably not a good thing to do before gigs, because he was trying to get functional, try and build something. So I think that was an issue too, because they were, as we all probably know, participate.
They are, aren't they? Vocal participants of the herb.
I saw the Black Crowes on their second album tour here in Australia. They played one show here in Australia, in Sydney, and that was still to this day one of the best shows I've ever been to.
Really?
Andrew's jealous face, that was.
Yeah.
Oh.
I saw them, and they were phenomenal. But it was. By the end of the gig, I couldn't handle being up in front. I went to the back of the room to watch, and the sound was phenomenal. It was phenomenal.
Was it really loud though? Was it?
It was dense. The sounding was dense, very thick. I can't really
two guitars and
the guitars sounded like, to me, like very Stonesy, very Small Faces vibe. But the second record, I got to see one of my favourite players, Mark Ford, play Souls Wrapped. So
Mark Ford's a genius.
Yeah, he's phenomenal. Anyway,
solo work is outstanding too.
Yeah. So he's another Clapton nut. So he was playing, his Strat playing on that record is phenomenal.
Oh.
Yeah, it brings me to tears, some of it. So weeping, it's beautiful. But the tones were phenomenal, and it was such a long show. I had to stand towards the back because it was so, everyone was so into it and pushing forward the whole gig. So there was packed because it was the only show they did here in Australia.
Oh man,
wow,
that was phenomenal. But that was a long time ago now.
Yeah, 92 Southern Harmony and Musical Companions came out. Oh dear.
wow,
that's a great album.
30 years ago.
Favorite album of theirs by far.
Remedy is fantastic. When I first heard Remedy, I just couldn't believe, and they've got those black chicks singing back up, and it just adds that authenticity. Oh,
The first time I heard Sting Me, I thought they got Keith Richards in to play guitar. I was like, it sounds like Keith Richards, but a bit grittier. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So that was a fantastic gig.
Yeah. I was just looking at Mark Ford while you were talking. Yeah, amazing. Yeah.
He had to leave the band because
for his drug use.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
One feels that's a bit rich coming from the Robinson brothers, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, I think he was doing other things as well.
Yeah.
He was actually their second guitarist because their first guitarist got sacked, was it? I can't remember.
Well, he got sacked because he was developing a bit of a cult following. This is what I've read. I'm not, being a Black Crowes nut. Jeff Cease, that's correct. So Rich didn't like it because, as you guys already know, when you go to a gig and all the guitar players are going to line up on one side and, look at Eric Clapton and the rest of the guys and the Yardbirds didn't like that, did they? So it was a little bit apparently with the Black Crowes, Jeff Cease was developing a bit of a following and the brothers, this was their band. So you're out, buddy. That's what I heard.
No. Is it? No. Yes. As I say, go back to the original one. Doesn't take much to add up to think that Jimmy Page might have had quite a hard time in this over a period.
Yeah.
Well, as I said earlier, if Rich Robinson and Chris Robinson are, the band leaders, and then Jimmy Page is the band leader, you've got a lot of band leaders, haven't you, in a small space?
Right.
So I clearly feel that didn't quite work out like that, but still a great record, and still fantastically, capture the essence of it. And as you say, 3 guitar players can give you the ability to really recreate stuff, especially the loud stuff that Pacing. So,
you guys need to check it out. If you guys haven't in the chat, check that album out. It's fantastic. Simon's going to hold it up again. It's on Spotify if you guys want to jump on there now. And
there's
phenomenal.
There's also there's other gigs in this done by them in the YouTube as well.
Yep.
Other places, not at the Greek, but
okay, guys.
So definitely worth checking out if you're into Zeppelin, you're into. But sorry, yes, I'm digressing.
So we're going to be going through this album next week, guys. So that's your homework. Go through the DVD. If you don't have the DVD, most of the tracks are all on YouTube, aren't they?
Yep.
The whole concert's on YouTube.
The whole tone's on YouTube. Yeah.
Let me send it right now. Hold on. I'll send the link.
Awesome. Yeah, check it out and join us next week for a marathon show. And we might even have some samples, some on the spot in the studio, on the show samples.
I was going to say 99. Should we agree a time?
Johnny Heartbreaker, yes, to answer your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
They played,
Yeah, they did the Arms
concert, and they did Stairway to
concert
Heaven.
when Jimmy's smashed out of his tree. Does a pretty good job,
Pages, is he?
Pages. Yeah, that's when he's like a skinny rake. He's pinging up big time back then. So
pinging up. That's a yeah. I don't think.
Yeah.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
It was.
Andrew, I sent you the link to 24 Nights if people want to view that.
Marvelous.
Hold on, guys. Hold on.
I've been watching that. It's the whole DVD in one ad-free video. Ad-free.
Ad-free, which was always worth it. Yeah.
Thank you, Michael. So check it out, guys. That's our homework, and we look for. So, guys, we'll make sure that we've got the. We'll be going 12 o'clock your time, Michael. We'll make sure that we're here ready to go 12 o'clock your time. Okay,
no problem. Great.
Yeah. Just one of us will be here with you anyway.
So, Michael, you're 5 hours behind me, aren't you?
Yes.
So it's 5 o'clock. That's right. I'll get up at 5. That's fine. There's no problem with that.
Thank you, Simon. What about you, bro? Brad, can you make it?
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. I like your T-shirt, bro. Look, oh
Back
man,
it's from the gig.
Yeah.
2007.
You got it, mate. I got one of those too. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm terrible with the T-shirts. I haven't got anything of any use.
I think that might be about 4. I think Mark wants to know Australia Eastern Daylight Time. So that's about 4 o'clock.
Well,
Brad?
It's normally 4, but we started today a couple of hours early. Well, what happened is, I think, because we've gone back an hour.
Yes.
And I think, was it, is there also a time difference with you guys going 1 hour forward, Simon? Or And
No, we've gone 1 hour forward, so it is
what about you, Mike? Have
currently.
you gone forward, or have you gone? Have you stayed stationary?
I stayed stationary. So I think that's about 2:00 in the afternoon, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. I think,
Okay.
yeah.
Yep. 2:00.
It's
Mark,
currently
if you-
nearly 8:00 in the morning here.
If you sub on Instagram to Brad and follow Brad, within the next couple of days, we'll have the link there for the show. So
The
So
good
follow
thing
Brad
about it is
there.
YouTube, when Andrew creates the YouTube session in YouTube, it will tell you what time it's going to be in your time zone.
yes,
That's exactly right.
That's
Yeah.
that's the really cool thing about YouTube. Is that when you get in your thing, it says 7 a.m. whatever it is, 5 a.m.
Yeah.
So you know what time it will be in your thing. So when Andrew, so keep an eye open for Andrew's creating the session so that you know, and it will tell you when it is.
Yes,
and
turn
hit the
turn reminder
notification
on.
bell.
Turn the
Good
reminder
point,
on.
Warren.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, appreciate it, guys. Look, we've spent 2.5 hours talking about lots of things. It's always a pleasure catching up with you guys. I know time and the sacrifice that you guys do, and it's way past midnight for Michael. So we appreciate Michael you wanting to contribute to the show, and we look forward to doing more shows with you, Michael, when it comes to Clapton especially. So thank you, Michael. And Brad and Simon, thank you guys for jumping on, and we look forward to next week with all the rankings. So that'll be a good one.
Definitely.
It's an honor. Thank you.
Oh, Michael, it's fantastic to have you, and your musical insights are really cool. It's all worth it. Absolutely worth it. So that's really good. So we'll say goodbye to everybody. Brian Spalding, thanks, Brian. Mark
That's
Tanner,
8 thumbs up.
8 thumbs up already. See,
So everyone needs to do the same on the. Give us a
By the
thumbs
way,
up.
I sent this to. Did you see last week? We got a thumbs down. Who gave us a thumbs down? Warren, is that you?
We don't acknowledge them. Let's not acknowledge them.
Still an engagement. We're good.
Like Caleb said yesterday, if we're getting some negativity, then we're doing something right.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
I don't think we've had enough thumbs down before. I was outraged.
No, we get them. We've got them.
Did you get them sometime? No, this is all right. I just haven't noticed them before, but that's fine. So anyway, Johnny Heartbreaker, thanks, Johnny. Hobo Roadie, thanks for dropping by. Of course, the great Vanzini and Arvin and Sonia. Thank you very much, guys. Hope we were all good. Go back. Derek as well. Derek Clapton. Who were Nelson, of course. Nelson Rodriguez. Thanks, Nelson, for being here. I can only go back that far. So hope I got everybody in that suite. Thanks all for watching and joining us. And excellent comments as ever. And we'll see you next week.
Hold on for 1 second. Mark doesn't use Instagram. So do you use Facebook, Mark? Because if you jump on Facebook and search for all things Eric Clapton, the British Electric Blues Show, you can join us there and follow us there if you want. Yeah, I know people don't have a lot of, follow all the media platforms.
Do you have a link to it in this YouTube? After this is posted, you can put a link to your Facebook.
Yeah, very good idea. Very, very good. I'll put a link. So if you guys come
on
back,
every video.
Yeah, come back to this show and it'll be a link for next week. Yeah. But no, it's always been a pleasure. So thank you, Simon, for the shout out. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Thank you for whetting the appetite. Awesome. Okay. All right, guys. Lovely. See you next. I'm jumping on. I'm going to be doing a interview with Brad on Wednesday, guys. So hit the note. Yeah. Hit the notification button and jump on. And the This is part
Brad
2 of
in
a
the spotlight.
long-awaited show that we've had planned for a long time, and obviously other shows have got in the way, so we've decided we'll it'll only be a quick show, be about an hour and a half, but we'll be succinct. And if you guys have any questions that you want to fire directly to Brad, jump on.
Brad Cook, The Wilderness Years.
Yeah.
What time will that be?
That'll be about 8 p.m. my time, which is 6 p.m. Brad's time. So that's about
that's
1
2 a.m. 2 a.m. my time.
Yeah. You'll be truly asleep, Michael, unless you want to jump on.
Go to sleep, Michael.
When I first was introduced to your channel, I was watching you guys at like 2 a.m. and I think I had my phone like this and it just fell on my face.
That's dedication.
Yeah.
That's dedication. I think that guy should just win the T-shirt just purely for that. And hold on too, because I've got to talk to our co-hosts about what we're going to do with the T-shirt too. So hold on, guys. We'll get something sorted. We'll get something sorted. Hold on, it's coming.
Hold on, we're holding on.
All right. Okay, guys. See you later. Thank you for joining us.
Take care.
Thank you.
Stay safe this week, and we'll see you on next Sunday. Bye.
I'll put it in the. Hold on.
What is